everybody, this is the spoiler review for Ahsoka episode 5, and these guys are slowly but surely opening up a story that's as good as Star Wars has been in the last 20 years. Okay, man, this is Mandoverse. This is different than Mandalorian, but it's still that universe, and I've got some ideas. Now, we've got Anakin there, and he just appears to Ahsoka, alive in the world between worlds, to teach her one last lesson. And it's very interesting watching how this goes on, because it's not an easy lesson for her to learn. He decides he's going to fight her. She says she's not going to fight him. And, that didn't really cut the mustard with him, because he wasn't impressed, because Luke had said that to him in Return of the Jedi. So he says, I've heard that before. And it's a callback to ROTJ. This is a beautiful moment, because it is something that we remember. And I don't even think it's nostalgia bait. It's just something that, or you recall him saying that to Luke in his Vader form. And that was something significant. It's just the whole sequence of her being in the world between worlds with him as a Force god is quite amazing. And fight him she does, and she hits him in the face, and he looks at her, and I can't remember what he says, but it's pretty funny. Then he hits the floor, what they're standing on. It shatters like glass, and she falls and lands on some battleground. And this is where it gets really interesting, because then you get into a kind of time travel and a memory for her, but I'll explain it more later. Where she lands is in the middle of the siege of Mandalore, and it's a pretty intense scene, and he basically gets her to rally to him, and she basically says, this is not what I bought into. And he says, I'm teaching you to fight. I'm teaching you to win wars. So they go off and do that. And as she's watching him leave, I loved what they did with the de-aging here. When she watches him leave, no, wait, here we go.
For 10 long weeks, the Star Wars
so they're talking, but there's a lull in the battle. He says, I don't remember this battle. She said, you weren't here. This was the siege of Mandalore. So it's her memory, but actual Anakin Skywalker is there with her. So they're talking about it, and she says, I didn't buy into this to fight wars and all the death and destruction. And he says, we have to change with the times. Okay, so she accepts it in a way, but doesn't really. And he goes forward, leading the clones, and we get this. And I'm going to show you the two different angles, the cycling between Anakin and Vader. And you'll see Vader, and this comes from the artwork that George had commissioned for The Force Awakens. That was never used. But Anakin was supposed to show up as a kind of a Force ghost, kind of. All right. So this is very kind of intense. These scenes are very intense, but I want to show them to you and how they looked, and then we'll talk about it.
lack conviction.
What I think you're seeing right here is Anakin Skywalker literally as the balance of the Force. And he cycles between both Vader and Anakin, and he's much more than either of them, which is profoundly cool. Okay, so is Anakin dead? No. Is Vader dead? No. Okay, it's so what has he become? Has he become some sort of a will or a Mortis god? I don't really know. But the fact of the matter is, Ahsoka makes the same choice that Luke did. I'm not going to fight you. And then she says, I want to live. And then they come and rescue her out of the water. And when she says, I want to live, everything changes and he's gone. Okay, it was like he's gone and she starts sinking into water. And then you see her laying on the bottom of this ocean. And the X-Wing pilots come to get her, and there you go. So that's the way that part ended. And I gotta say, I really wish that they had more of the World Between Worlds, because it's so cool, than they had the other stuff, because I'm not a fan of Hera Syndulla. There's really no reason for the character beyond Dave Filoni, and that's fine. I just don't like her. So she shows up and discovers that Ahsoka and Sabine are gone. The map is destroyed. So after Ahsoka's rescued, they go back to where the map was, and Ahsoka feels the map. And as she's looking up, then she sees a Purgle, and the map had basically carried enough impression on it that Ahsoka could figure out that Sabine was dragged along with them. So she concocts an idea, because the space whales, aka the Purgles, fly the hyperspace lanes. So she goes into the ship and into the fulcrum and befriends the biggest Purgle, the queen of the pod or the king of the pod. And she kind of does a Jedi mind thing with him. They have a conversation, and she goes back into the ship, basically says they're going to take us to where Sabine and the rest have gone to the other galaxy, and they're doing it now. So that was the end. Leia was mentioned, Senator Organa. So obviously they're going to have Senator Organa be on the side of the Ghost Crew. And I mean, Leia's married to one of the most obnoxious mavericks on the planet, so in the galaxy. So, she's a maverick herself. So this all makes sense. So we have to see. Maybe we will get to see Leia in the next video. We did again get to see Mon Mothma, who I'm starting to really dislike a lot. I can't even explain why, but ever since Andor, I was just watching what Tony Gilroy did to her was just insulting. Okay, was just insulting. And what's really cool is that we're going to obviously find out a lot about the Purgles, and the cool thing about them is we get to travel with them. And of course, you're gotta understand, the fulcrum with Ahsoka and Huyang are in the mouth of the big Purgle. Okay, so it's kind of like the Jonah and the whale motif. And you're going to notice something else. When Ahsoka comes to on the Ghost, or on the fulcrum, she is wearing white garb, not gray anymore. So it's basically symbolic of Ahsoka the White. So this was after her meet up with Luke. And So we get to, hopefully we'll get to see more of the main gang. Because, again, let me tell you, Ahsoka's an interesting character. This is a good show, but they're not the main part of Star Wars. So we have to remember that. Anyway, it was great. I give it a 10 out of 10 stars. And to the Black Pills, why don't you actually get real jobs? Okay? Because opinion making and talking head stuff isn't your bag. You're just spreading rage porn. This is Steph, signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.